see if this is working before we begin. So yeah. Is it working? Okay, seems to be working. All right, let's start. So today we're going to be reacting to the amazing TMR's Amazing Race Asia video season ranking. Yeah. And the Moranian reviews Amazing Race Asia video. Yeah, I'm very curious to see if this actually ends up working. So let's.
All right, guys, Bill, I'm here back with you.
Okay, it does work. Cool.
New video. In this video, I'm back talking about international seasons of the Amazing Race, where I've already done a season ranking for Amazing Race Canada and Australia, and I did go down the rabbit hole of watching every English language season of the Amazing Race worldwide. So here we will be talking about the next series of that being the Amazing Race Asia, which as a whole I will say is a series that I'm just kind of fine with. I mean, it's a series that I didn't really connect to nearly as.
I think it's. So yeah, I've already watched this, but I need an Amazing Race video, so I need or something for this month. So I'm gonna watch this live. But obviously, I think that like Amazing Race Asia, like I think he said, it is the most fine version of the show. It's just more, it's kind of like baseline, and it is the first ever version. So let's see.
As much as the likes of Amazing Race Canada or certain seasons of Australia. I mean, I feel like it's a series that as a whole, even the best season here for me is kind of a middling season, where there's also seasons that didn't really click with me. I mean, I think as a whole, Amazing Race Asia is kind of just fine from my point of view. Now, I do really like the host in Alan Wu, and then probably being my favorite Amazing Race host outside of Phil Kogan. But as for the seasons themselves, which are these pan-regional seasons that involve people from different countries all around Asia, I just feel like a lot of them came off as just to me. But we're still going to be ranking the seasons here. There are 5 seasons to rank here. Let's start off at the bottom. At number 5, the worst season of Amazing Race 8. And this is a season that really just came off as so boring to me.
Oh, hi, hello, the Peely Banana. And Peely Banana. Hello.
I mean, this is like one of the worst experiences.
Watching Amazing Race, Millennium Review Race Asia video, because obviously that's something we talk about here.
Experiences I think I've had with an Amazing Race season here. I just found this entire season to be really boring. Now, it does have a very old school feeling to the first English language international season ever, but it is one that for me has a terrible format. It is 13 legs with only 10 teams. It's a mostly boring season, a mostly dull cast here. I do feel like even the standouts in this cast, people like Marty and Marcio and Andy and Laura, are still just.
Yeah, I'm doing well. 1-2 of the city today, so.
For the show, but even then, like, I didn't feel like they were anything too different from many other teams we've seen on other seasons of the show. Then Marty and Marcio are again this fun bumbling team, but still not to any extreme. Even beyond that, I felt like there were base tasks in this season I didn't particularly like.
Yeah, kind of buffering a little bit. Stream is laggy quite a bit. Go down. Okay. Okay, if it's laggy, yeah, I figure that. My internet's not actually that good. It's not good. It's like it doesn't really hold up when streaming a lot. So it's kind of interesting. I guess I'll just continue, just press play again. So yeah.
That aspect of it. I mean, so many teams to me just came off as really unnotable. Again, there's like a couple interesting moments. Like there was this
12 a.m. my time.
one digging challenge that most of the teams end up taking a penalty for, and that leads to an interesting elimination there. We do have Sahil and Prashant who use a private car and through that get a penalty that eventually leads to them being eliminated. We have Andy and Laura being.
I know he talked about the host. I do like the host actually, like Alan Wu. He does Amazing Race China Rush as well. I like him as a host. He's a very good host.
Eliminated because they were yielded. Again, there are some interesting moments here and there. And the season does produce the first ever female team to ever win the Amazing Race. It's Sabrina and Jojer, who are really unnotable figures across this season. I know nothing about them, which is so funny to me that this really historic occasion in the history of the Amazing Race ends up coming from a team that is largely under-edited to the point where like I don't know anything about them as people. So to me overall, like this just came off as super anticlimactic as well. And like I just found myself so bored with a lot of this season. I just felt like it was a really poorly paced season in my eyes. And because that, it's here at the bottom, number 5. Now,
once
I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. For a sec. Because I don't really want to show any of that. I don't want to share. I don't want to see. Okay.
Now number 4, moving on to a season that. Okay. I saw some love for this season, but to me, this was only a sliver better than season 1 to me, and that is season 3. And again, like season 3, I think there are a couple inherent positives from season 1. Obviously, it is a newer season, and I think it's slightly better paced. It does have 2 less episodes. However, they still structured a season in a near worst possible way, where for some reason, we get down to the final 5 with 6 legs left. It's like over half of the race when we only have 5 teams left. It's like, what is this structuring? Now, I will say again, the cast is better than season 1, but then that's not saying much considering I found season 1's cast to be one of the worst I've ever seen. But here we have like figures like Maya and Oliver who instantly come off as fun with them winning the first leg, only for Maya to want to quit by the end of it. We have Henry and Bernie who had a fun energy and had some big reactions along the way. Vince and Sam are very palatable winners and mostly likable figures. We have some fun breakdowns from some teams like Palin and Natalie, where Natalie wants to quit the race and takes a penalty despite them being in last. We have Naru and Kapal who want to quit and eventually also end up in last after taking a penalty. And really, it felt like this was a race that people seem to be really struggling with. Again, there was a lot of talk about quitting from a lot of teams, which was kind of humorous. But again, I really just found a lot of the season just very meh. I know Ida and Tanya are supposed to be this big fan favorites. Like, I just found them fine. They were okay. Jeff and Tisha also just kind of fine. Again, like Jeff definitely had some anger issues that weren't. I feel like the boot order to start was really strong, but I feel like once we get to the middle portion of the race, I do feel like we're left at the end with some of the more middling teams that kind of leads to the ending being kind of lackluster as well. And it's like, as a whole, Amazing Race Asia 3, just very blah of a season to me. Again, it is an improvement upon season 1 in almost every single way, but still not enough to really hold my interest too much. It's here at number 4. Now, number 3, we're moving on to another season that I believe is very popular, and that is the most recent season of the show, season 5, which to me is a.
Hold on. Wait for me to hear the string actually before I say something.
is an improvement upon of a season to me. Again, it is an improvement upon season one. Almost every single way.
Oh. Okay.
A very baseline season.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, season 5 is my favorite season of Amazing Race Asia. And maybe it's just because it's the most recent season, but I like the season.
Race. It is fine. It is a season with a very likable cast, though some of them are kind of boring. It's a season that I'm never really bored with the entire way, but I'm also not really that invested in either. It's, again, very just fine. Now, I will say that it does start with an instant elimination, which really sucks. I really don't know why Amazing Race does this sort of thing where we have this task right at the start line that determines the first boot, though it does set up this like really fun underdog story for Eric and Rona, who I do think are one of the most likable teams on the season. We also bizarrely get 2 hosts for this season, with Alan Wu being joined by this Indonesian woman who only hosts the legs that are in Indonesia, which very clearly this season was sponsored by the Indonesian Department of Tourism, as
It is a bit odd.
we literally start the leg with the head of the department telling the teams to go. And then we have like half the legs taking place in Indonesia with the Indonesian host. Again, like it just felt so blatantly Indonesia focused. But again, I felt like there were likable teams here. I thought Yvonne and Chloe were a really fun, scrappy underdog sort of team. You had Treasury and Louisa, who were probably the strongest team of the season, do get a really fun downfall with the other teams ganging up on them by using both a yield and a U-turn to eventually get them out.
I don't know. I've been debating about doing the reaction videos because I saw a comment. Someone wanted the Reddit videos to come back. I don't know if it was the Unpeely Banana or whatever, but I think like I know a lot of some people have wanted the Reddit videos to come back, like, and I want the Reddit videos to come back too, at some point, or like just reaction videos in general. Well, I do have an idea. So if you don't know, Rebecca Rogers does a series called "Am I the Bad Apple?" That's fun with Reddit. I'm thinking about doing an episode of the Reddit series where it's just me running through like 3 Am I the Bad Apple stories. However, like I would never do one again, and I would totally give credit to Rebecca Rogers for that one, because obviously she's the one who's been doing that series. I'm not gonna. And it seems like kind of like copying, but I think like I want to do these more Reddit series. It's kind of Reddit reaction series, and like if I can like react to like just YouTube videos or something, and give me something like reaction based is every now and again. I think that'd be nice.
Out. We do have Rach and Vicky being this very fun bickering team, despite the fact that they're not actually a couple, which is typically the archetype you see from them. I remember coming into the season, I was thinking, oh, Will and Alex are like the obvious winners, with them being these really jacked guys that you would typically see do well in the Amazing Race, only for them to kind of be a bumbling team that gets eliminated really early on. JK and Mike also get like a really fun downfall, with them winning 2 legs in a row, only for them to be eliminating the very following leg, with them taking a wrong turn at the very last second. Though through all this, I will say that the winners of this season did feel like they got a very blatant winner edit, with the likes of Parul and Maggie getting so much content early on about how they're underestimated from being beauty queens and how they need the money to help Parul's dad, and like all that just felt very blatant there. But overall, again, it is a very solid season of the show. Again, very baseline season. A season that isn't really boring throughout it, but not really a season that reaches any true highs either. And because of that, for me, it's here at number 3. And
I'm gonna stop sharing how this goes. Let's go back to that.
Funny because based on the list that I've seen of other people ranking the Amazing Race Asia seasons, my top 2 are many people's bottom two. And I think that really exemplifies the different way that I look at The Amazing Race from how the typical super fan of The Amazing Race does. Though I will say that the top three were really
Oh yeah, we did get news about Amazing Race US season 35. I'm probably gonna do a video on that. Probably will. I honestly, maybe I should have done that here. I don't know.
Close, where I can actually see an argument for me making season 5 number 1. However, for me, these next two seasons did stand out to me a bit more. And at number 2, we're going to be starting that off with season 2.
And honestly, I might do the sooner or later. I'm going to be doing the Everything You Need to Know About Amazing Race Australia season 7.
Is a season that, coming off of season 1, was by far a better season. Essentially a better season than season 1 in every conceivable way. I mean, it's a more likable cast. It's a season with more solid storylines here. I mean, I think the two massive standouts on this season end up being Terry and Henry, who are this really fun bickering team to start, but does eventually turn very icky, with Terry really just seeming like a figure across this season, with her yelling at Henry to the point where he starts crying. And while it didn't necessarily end up being fun TV by the end of it, it was definitely interesting TV, to where, again,
seems laggy again.
Again, like, I wasn't bored because of it. It definitely kept my attention. I think the other team that really, really stands out here ends up being Markham Revealson, who are the most dominant team in the history of The Amazing Race. They have the highest average in the history of the race. They are tied with the most amount of legs won in The Amazing Race. And I do think they come off as a really likable team. Now, I did see some hate for them because of how I do find them still pretty fun. I mean, in many ways, they kind of remind me of like a BJ and Tyler. Also, I felt like their run was really fascinating to watch. See them get first or second place in literally every single leg up until the final leg.
I'm going to be honest, though. Amazing Race Canada this season I'm watching. Wait. Did it crash? It might have. Did it crash?
Leg, and for them to completely falter in the final leg, really at the tail end of it. Again, they were in the lead for the majority of the final leg. It really that's the roadblock that Revealson struggles with knowing the flags of the country they've been to, that drops them from first to third, their lowest place finish in the entire race in the final leg. I think, to me, there is an argument for Revealson being the best team in the history of The Amazing Race. I do think seeing their downfall here was a really fascinating aspect of this season. I do think really props up this season. I do think it is an aspect of the season that does keep it. Leg, and for them to completely in the final leg, really at the tail end of it, they were above season 5 in my eyes, in the fact that there is this very interesting storyline there for me. Also, we have the likes of Adrian Collin, who are these likable figures that end up winning the season, these likable underdogs at the very end, where despite them being a very strong team coming to the final leg, they're in the back of the pack for a lot of the final leg. Have this great storyline of Adrian, who is deaf, adds to the likability factor of the team, but also to have Adrian win the race for them through the final roadblock, through him remembering these flags from his childhood. It was a really great moment there as well. Also, the season is filled with female teams, and a lot of them are pretty likable as well, with the likes of Vanessa and Pamela. Paula and Natasha were an interesting team in them building an alliance to yield Anne and Diane. Anne and Diane were also a team that were strong for a lot of it and kind of get ganged up on by the end. I thought Sophie and Aurelia were a really fun team early on, with them bickering quite a bit. So again, like, I overall really like this season. To me, there are a lot more things that stand out for this season than for season 5. Again, I think there's was a really great moment there. There's definitely the argument season 5 is a better constructed season, but season 2 stands out more for me, so it's here number 2. Now, number 1, the best season in the Amazing Race Asia to me ends up being season 4, which, again, I don't think this is a popular opinion. I've seen a lot of people have seasons 2 and 4 at the bottom of their rankings. Talking about how they don't have likable casts and terrible routes and all that sort of stuff. One, again, like, for me, route, don't care.
This is like really like, yeah.
I think season 4 here has the best cast of the entire series, which is why I have the season so highly ranked. I actually have this as my number 1 season because I like the cast so much.
I don't know. This is really bad. I don't think it's going well.
There's no one on this season that I dislike. I think this is a cast of all pretty likable teams. And I think it's also a season that fixes the issues I had with season 3, where it has earlier non-elimination legs, and through that feels like a better pace season as a whole. I will say that Richard and Richard did come off as really obvious winners to me. Mind you, to be fair, I remembered their name when looking at a list of winners from way, way back, but still, I mean, they definitely felt like the obvious coming into the season. But even then, I thought they were kind of likable figures. I was expecting them to be kind of villainous figures across the season, but they ended up being mostly likable here, even though we do see them get a tiff with Ethan over him breaking a deal with them on the sign-up board. But like even then, I thought that was a fun little moment there. I really like Yanni and Nadine as first boots. I thought they were a really fun team. And Justin and Lonnie are this interesting team as well, like trying to play the flirt game on The Amazing Race, which works to middling success. Michelle and
I don't think this is working. There, unfortunately. You're still hearing this. Because it's just not working well. I don't think this is working. Yeah. I'm still counting it. Yeah. We're close to it. I didn't notice we're close to like 900 videos, so that's cool on this channel. I'm kind of excited for 1,000. And it comes around probably next week or sometime in there. But yeah, thanks for watching. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the stream's just laggy for me right now. I honestly like it's not like my house isn't like great to stream from. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. Or I'm Peely Banana, I guess. Thank you, and yeah.